the most disturbing parts of Harry Potter. Nobody talks about. Harry Potter is often remembered as a story about friendship, courage, and magic. A hidden school, moving staircases, flying broomsticks, talking portraits, spells, feasts, friendships, and the idea that somewhere beyond the ordinary world, magic exists. But the deeper you look into the wizarding world, the harder it becomes to ignore how disturbing many of its normal systems actually are. And I'm not just talking about Voldemort. Voldemort is obviously evil, and so are Death Eaters. The Killing Curse, Horcruxes, Dementors, and dark magic are all presented as dangerous from the beginning. But what's more interesting are the things the wizarding world treats as ordinary. It may look magical on the surface, but many of its normal rules, institutions, and traditions become disturbing once you examine them closely. This video looks beyond the obvious villains and explores the darker ideas hidden inside the world itself. So today, we're looking at the most disturbing parts of Harry Potter nobody talks about enough. Not just isolated dark scenes from the books, but the deeper facts, systems, and implications behind them. Number 10. Memory charms are basically mind violations. One of the most disturbing forms of magic in Harry Potter is not the Killing Curse or the Cruciatus Curse or anything Voldemort creates in secret. It is a spell the wizarding world uses all the time, the memory charm. Usually referred to through the spell Obliviate, memory magic is treated throughout the series as a practical tool. The Ministry of Magic uses it on Muggles who accidentally witness magical events. There are entire Ministry employees called Obliviators, whose job is to erase or modify memories in order to protect the secrecy of the wizarding world. On paper, that sounds understandable. If a Muggle sees a dragon flying over London, or a magical explosion, or a wizard performing spells in public, the Ministry needs some way to prevent mass exposure. But when you actually think about what this means, it becomes extremely disturbing. A memory charm is not just making someone forget a small detail. It is entering someone's mind and removing part of their lived experience, their fear, their confusion, their discovery, and their understanding of what happened to them. And in most cases, they never even know anything was taken. That becomes much darker when we look at Gilderoy Lockhart. Lockhart is often remembered as a comic character because he is vain, dramatic, and completely useless when real danger appears. But what he actually did was horrific. He tracked down witches and wizards who had accomplished brave and dangerous things, stole their stories, then erased their memories so they could never expose him. That means Lockhart did not simply steal credit. He stole parts of people's identities. Their achievements were taken from them, their memories were damaged, and their own lives became material for his fame. But the only reason he is punished is because the spell backfires in the Chamber of Secrets. When Ron's broken wand causes the memory charm to hit Lockhart instead, he loses almost everything that made him himself. Later, in St. Mungo's, he is alive, cheerful, and functional in a limited way, but he no longer truly understands who he was. The disturbing part is that this shows exactly what memory magic can do. It can destroy a person without killing them. Hermione's use of memory modification in Deathly Hallows is another complicated example. She alters her parents' memories, removes herself from their lives, gives them new identities, and sends them to Australia to protect them from Voldemort's war. Her motive is loving, but the act itself is still frightening. Her parents do not choose this. They do not knowingly agree to abandon their daughter, their home, or their old lives. Hermione makes that decision for them because she believes it is the only way to keep them safe. And that is what makes memory magic so unsettling. Even when used for good reasons, it crosses a line. It changes someone's reality, rewrites what they know, what they remember, and sometimes who they are. The wizarding world treats memory charms as necessary maintenance, a cleanup tool, and a way to keep magic hidden. But beneath that practical explanation is something much darker. A society where the government can legally erase minds, where celebrities can build careers by stealing memories, and where even good characters can justify changing the people they love. And that raises one of the most uncomfortable questions in Harry Potter. If your memories can be altered without your consent, how much of your life is truly yours? Number 9. Love potions are treated like jokes. In a world full of dangerous magic, love potions are one of the strangest things Harry Potter asks us to accept as normal. Because unlike a curse, a hex, or a jinx, they are not usually presented as dark magic. They are presented as funny, awkward, embarrassing, sometimes even romantic. And that is exactly what makes them disturbing. Love potions appear several times throughout the series, and the books make one thing clear. They do not create real love. They create obsession, fixation, and emotional dependence. The person under the potion's influence is not choosing to feel that way. Their emotions are being chemically and magically controlled. In other words, love potions remove consent. That alone should make them one of the most heavily restricted substances in the wizarding world. But they are not treated that way. In Half-Blood Prince, Fred and George Weasley sell love potions through Weasley's Wizard Wheezes. Hogwarts students talk about them. They are smuggled into school. Slughorn even introduces Amortentia in Potions class, describing it as the most powerful love potion in the world. The scene is written with mystery and fascination. Amortentia smells different to every person, depending on what attracts them. Harry smells things connected to Ginny, broomstick handles, and treacle tart. Hermione smells things she does not fully admit. It is an interesting magical concept, but the actual function of the potion is horrifying. This is a substance designed to make someone desire another person against their will. The clearest example involves Merope Gaunt and Tom Riddle Sr. Merope, Voldemort's mother, came from the Gaunt family, a broken, pure-blood household obsessed with its connection to Salazar Slytherin. She lived under abuse, poverty, and humiliation. Eventually, she became obsessed with Tom Riddle Sr., a wealthy Muggle who had no romantic interest in her. The books strongly suggest that Merope used a love potion or similar enchantment on him. Under that influence, Tom abandoned his life, married her, and fathered a child. When Merope later stopped using the potion, possibly hoping he had truly grown to love her, Tom immediately left. The result was tragic for Merope, but it was also horrifying for Tom. He was magically manipulated into a relationship, marriage, and parenthood he never chose. And the series does not ignore the consequences. Voldemort himself is born from a union created without real love, honesty, or consent. Ron Weasley's experience in Half-Blood Prince shows the danger on a smaller but still disturbing scale. He accidentally eats love potion-laced chocolates meant for Harry and becomes instantly obsessed with Romilda Vane. At first, the scene plays out like comedy. Ron acts so ridiculous that Harry has to drag him to Slughorn for help. But the situation quickly turns deadly when Ron drinks poisoned mead in Slughorn's office and nearly dies. A joke product nearly becomes part of a fatal chain of events. That is the strange darkness of love potions in Harry Potter. They sit somewhere between comedy and violation. Characters laugh about them, students experiment with them, shops sell them, and teachers discuss them. But when you strip away the whimsical presentation, the reality is deeply uncomfortable. Love potions do not create love, they create control. And in a world where something like that can be bought, brewed, taught, and joked about, The disturbing part is not just that love potions exist, it is that almost nobody treats them seriously enough. Number 8. Hogwarts is shockingly unsafe. For a school constantly described as one of the safest places in the wizarding world, Hogwarts has an almost unbelievable record of putting children in danger. And not just once, but repeatedly. Across the series, Hogwarts is presented as magical, warm, ancient, and protective. It has enchanted ceilings, moving portraits, hidden rooms, floating candles, and professors capable of extraordinary magic. But when you look at what actually happens there, the school becomes much more disturbing. In Philosopher's Stone, the school hides one of the most valuable magical objects in existence behind a series of obstacles. The protections include a giant three-headed dog, devil's snare, flying keys, a violent enchanted chessboard, and a potion logic trap. 3 first-year students managed to get through most of it. The school placed a deadly magical security system inside a building full of children, only to rely on a locked door and a warning from Dumbledore to keep students away. In Chamber of Secrets, the danger becomes even worse. A basilisk moves through the school, petrifying students and nearly killing several people. The creature is not just dangerous, it can kill instantly through eye contact. And it had been hidden beneath Hogwarts for centuries. The school does not immediately shut down. Students continue living there while attacks are happening. In Prisoner of Azkaban, Dementors are stationed around the school grounds because Sirius Black is believed to be hunting Harry. Dementors are creatures that feed on happiness and force people to relive their worst memories. Harry repeatedly collapses around them because he hears his parents' final moments. And these creatures are allowed near students. In Goblet of Fire, Hogwarts hosts the Triwizard Tournament, a competition that had previously been discontinued because it was too dangerous. A 14-year-old Harry is forced to participate after his name is entered against his will. The tasks involve dragons, underwater hostage scenarios, and a maze filled with dangerous creatures and curses. Then, Cedric Diggory dies. This is no longer just a normal school danger, but an institutional failure. The later books make it even harder to defend Hogwarts as safe. In Order of the Phoenix, Dolores Umbridge uses the Black Quill to torture Harry during detention. This punishment carves words into his hand, using his own blood, and Harry receives multiple detentions with it. In Half-Blood Prince, Death Eaters infiltrate the castle through the Vanishing Cabinet. Draco Malfoy spends much of the year attempting murder, and 2 students, Katie Bell and Ron Weasley, are nearly killed by cursed or poisoned objects meant for Dumbledore. By Deathly Hallows, Hogwarts is basically occupied territory. The Carrows punish students with the Cruciatus Curse. Neville, Ginny, Luna, and other students are involved in resistance against Death Eater control, and this is before the final battle even begins. The strangest part is that Hogwarts' ordinary dangers are already bad enough. The Forbidden Forest is full of dangerous creatures. The Whomping Willow can crush students, the staircases move, Peeves attack people, and the castle contains cursed objects, secret passages, ghosts, dangerous rooms, and magical architecture that even the staff do not always fully understand. Hogwarts is wonderful as a fantasy setting, but as a school, it is terrifying. The wizarding world calls Hogwarts safe because it compares it to everything outside. But if this is what safety looks like, then the rest of the magical world must be much worse. Number 7. House elf slavery is normalized. One of the most uncomfortable parts of the Harry Potter universe is that slavery does not exist in some hidden corner of the wizarding world. It exists openly, and most witches and wizards barely question it. House elves are introduced early in the series through Dobby, and at first, his behavior seems strange, dramatic, and even slightly comedic. He punishes himself, speaks nervously about his masters, and appears terrified of disobedience. But the more we learn, the darker it becomes. Dobby is not simply loyal to the Malfoy family, he is magically bound to them. He cannot leave unless they free him. He is expected to obey orders, endure abuse, and punish himself when he acts against his master's wishes. That is not employment, that is enslavement. The disturbing part is that the wizarding world has built an entire social system around this. House elves cook, clean, maintain homes, serve old families, and work behind the scenes in magical institutions. Their labor is treated as normal, traditional, and even respectable. Hogwarts itself even depends on house elf labor. In Goblet of Fire, Hermione discovers that the school kitchens are full of house elves preparing meals for students and staff. The feasts that make Hogwarts feel warm and magical are produced by unpaid servants living beneath the castle. And most students have no idea. Or worse, they do not care. Hermione reacts by creating SPEW, the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare. She tries to campaign for wages, rights, and freedom, but her efforts are mostly mocked. Ron dismisses the idea, and other students laugh at it. Even Harry does not take it as seriously as Hermione does for much of the story. This is what makes the issue more disturbing. It is not only villains who accept house elf slavery. Ordinary people do too. Even good characters benefit from it. Winky's story makes this even darker. She serves the Crouch family and is deeply attached to them. When Barty Crouch Sr. dismisses her after the Quidditch World Cup, she completely falls apart. Later at Hogwarts, she becomes depressed and develops a dependence on butterbeer, which affects house elves much more strongly than humans. Winky does not celebrate freedom, she experiences it as rejection. That detail is important because it shows how deeply the system damages house elves psychologically. They are not only forced to serve, they are raised to believe service is their purpose. Kreacher adds another layer. His loyalty to the Black family is shaped by years of mistreatment, isolation, and pure blood ideology. But when Harry begins treating him with respect, Kreacher changes. This suggests house elves are not naturally servile in a simple way. They respond to treatment, remember kindness, and carry trauma. The wizarding world often tries to justify house elf slavery by claiming house elves like serving. But that argument becomes much harder to accept when we see Dobby desperately wanting freedom, Winky emotionally destroyed by conditioning, and Kreacher warped by abuse. The most disturbing part is not just that cruel families like the Malfoys own house elves, but that the entire society allows it. So, when Hermione points out the obvious problem, she is treated like the unreasonable one. A magical world full of wonder, built partly on people pretending slavery is tradition. Number 6. Azkaban is government-approved psychological torture. The disturbing thing about Azkaban is that it is not run by Voldemort. It is not a Death Eater prison, nor some hidden dark wizard facility operating outside the law. For most of the series, Azkaban is the official prison of the British Ministry of Magic, and that makes it much worse. Azkaban is introduced as the place where the wizarding world sends its most dangerous criminals. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. Every society has prisons, and the wizarding world clearly has people capable of extreme violence. But Azkaban is not just a prison, it is a place guarded by Dementors. Dementors are among the darkest creatures in Harry Potter. They drain warmth from the air and force people to relive their worst memories. Long-term exposure does not simply make prisoners sad, it breaks them down psychologically. Prisoners in Azkaban are not just isolated from society, they are trapped with creatures that slowly consume their hope. This is why Sirius Black's survival is so unusual. Sirius spends 12 years in Azkaban for a crime he did not commit. He is accused of betraying James and Lily Potter and murdering Peter Pettigrew, even though Pettigrew was the real traitor. Sirius survives partly because he knows he is innocent, and partly because he can transform into a dog as an animagus, which weakens the Dementor's effect on him. This means the Ministry built a justice system where being sent to prison can permanently destroy your mind, and the system is not even reliable. Hagrid is sent to Azkaban in Chamber of Secrets when the chamber is opened again, despite the evidence against him being extremely weak. Cornelius Fudge admits he has to be seen doing something, so Hagrid is taken away because the Ministry needs action more than truth. That is horrifying. A person can be sent to a Dementor-guarded prison because the government is under pressure. Then there is Barty Crouch Jr. Barty is guilty of terrible crimes, but what happens to him still reveals how dangerous the Ministry's power really is. After he is exposed at the end of Goblet of Fire, Cornelius Fudge brings a Dementor into Hogwarts. Before Barty can properly testify about Voldemort's return, the Dementor administers the kiss. The Dementor's kiss is described as a fate worse than death. It removes the soul, leaving the body alive but empty. And Fudge allows this to happen before a real trial, before testimony, and before the wizarding world can learn the full truth. This moment is especially important because it helps the Ministry deny Voldemort's return. The one witness who could confirm the entire story is spiritually destroyed by the government itself. That is what makes Azkaban so disturbing. It is not only cruel, it is politically useful. The Dementors do not just punish prisoners, they silence them, ruin them, and make justice almost impossible because by the time someone is inside long enough, they may no longer be mentally capable of defending themselves. The wizarding world fears dark magic, but for years it allows its own government to use creatures that feed on human misery. Azkaban shows that some of the darkest things in Harry Potter are not illegal. Some of them are official policy. Number 5. Werewolf discrimination created more violence. The tragedy of Remus Lupin is not just that he is a werewolf. It is that the wizarding world makes him feel like his entire life is something to apologize for. Werewolves in Harry Potter are treated as dangerous, unstable, and socially unacceptable. Some of that fear comes from a real place. A transformed werewolf is extremely dangerous, and without precautions, an attack can permanently change someone's life. But the disturbing part is how the wizarding world responds to that danger. Instead of creating systems that help werewolves live safely, it pushes them out. Lupin is one of the clearest examples. He is intelligent, kind, skilled, and one of the best defense against the dark arts teachers Harry ever has. During his time at Hogwarts, he uses Wolfsbane Potion, which allows a werewolf to keep their human mind during transformation. In other words, there is a responsible way for him to manage his condition. And he does manage it responsibly. But once parents discover he is a werewolf, he resigns almost immediately. Not because he attacked a student or wanted to harm anyone, but because the stigma alone makes his position impossible. This tells us something important about wizarding society. A werewolf can take precautions, follow rules, live responsibly, and still be treated as unacceptable. Lupin's entire adult life is shaped by this prejudice. He struggles to find work, lives in poverty, and is ashamed of his condition. Even when he marries Tonks and she becomes pregnant, he panics because he fears passing his condition or its social burden to his child. That level of self-hatred does not come from nowhere. It comes from a world that repeatedly tells him he is a danger before he is a person. Then there is Fenrir Greyback. Greyback represents the darkest possible outcome of this system. Unlike Lupin, he embraces violence. He deliberately targets children. He positions himself near victims before transforming because he wants to infect them. He attacked Remus Lupin as a child as revenge against Lupin's father, Lyle Lupin, who had insulted werewolves. Greyback weaponized lycanthropy against a child to punish an adult. But Greyback is also important because he shows how discrimination can become recruitment fuel. Voldemort understands that werewolves have been rejected by wizarding society. He does not truly respect them, but he offers them something the Ministry does not: a place, a purpose, and revenge. That makes werewolves easier to exploit. The Ministry's laws make this worse. Anti-werewolf legislation, public fear, employment discrimination, and social exclusion do not remove the danger. They make it harder for werewolves to live stable lives. And when people cannot work, cannot belong, and cannot exist openly, they become vulnerable to radicalization. This is what makes the werewolf issue so disturbing. The wizarding world claims it wants safety, but its treatment of werewolves creates conditions that make safety less likely. Lupin proves that werewolves can live responsibly when given support, medicine, and trust. Greyback proves what can happen when rejection turns into hatred. The tragedy is that wizarding society focuses almost entirely on fear. Not prevention, treatment, or integration, but fear. And in the end, that fear helps create the very monsters it claims to protect people from. Number 4. The Ministry was corrupt before Voldemort took over. One of the biggest misconceptions in Harry Potter is that the Ministry of Magic only becomes terrifying once Voldemort controls it. That is not really true. Voldemort makes it worse, but he does not build the corruption from nothing. The Ministry already had the tools, the habits, and the weaknesses that made his takeover possible. He simply uses what is already there. One of the clearest examples is Harry's disciplinary hearing in Order of the Phoenix. After Harry uses the Patronus charm to protect himself and Dudley from Dementors, the Ministry does not treat the situation fairly. Instead, it turns a case of self-defense into a political attack. The hearing was moved unexpectedly, and the time was changed. Harry is brought before the full Wizengamot, even though the case involves underage magic. The entire setup feels less like justice and more like intimidation, and the reason is obvious. The Ministry does not only want to punish Harry for using magic outside school. It wants to weaken him because his story about Voldemort's return threatens the government's preferred version of reality. That is a major sign of corruption. A legal system stops being trustworthy when it is used to protect political comfort instead of truth. The Ministry also has a long history of controlling information. The Daily Prophet, while technically a newspaper, often functions like a political weapon. During Order of the Phoenix, it repeatedly paints Harry as unstable and Dumbledore as dangerous. This matters because public opinion in the wizarding world is extremely easy to manipulate. Most people are not shown carefully weighing evidence. They read the prophet, listen to the Ministry, and accept the official story. That makes the entire society vulnerable. Another overlooked example is the Ministry's obsession with secrecy. The International Statute of Secrecy may protect the wizarding world, but it also creates a culture where hiding the truth becomes normal. Memory charms, cover-ups, restricted information, classified departments, and sealed records are all part of ordinary government life. That kind of system can protect people, but it can also protect officials from accountability. Then there is the Department of Mysteries. The unspeakables study things like death, time, thought, space, and prophecy, but almost nobody outside the department understands what they are doing. That level of secrecy may be necessary for dangerous magic, but it also shows how much power exists inside the Ministry without public oversight. The Ministry also keeps dangerous magical objects, prophecies, experimental rooms, and classified knowledge inside the same government structure that repeatedly proves it cannot be trusted. So when Voldemort takes control, the disturbing part is not that the Ministry suddenly becomes dangerous. It was already dangerous. Voldemort only removes the mask. He takes a government already comfortable with secrecy, propaganda, intimidation, and prejudice and pushes it to its logical extreme. Number 3. Children are constantly used as soldiers. For a series set mostly inside a school, Harry Potter places an unsettling amount of war on children. This is one of those disturbing parts of the story that can be easy to overlook because the main characters are brave. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Neville, Ginny, Luna, and the rest of Dumbledore's army are written as courageous, loyal, and willing to fight when adults fail. But that is exactly what makes it darker. They should not have needed to be that brave. Harry is only 11 when he first faces Voldemort beneath Hogwarts. At 12, he enters the Chamber of Secrets, kills a basilisk, and destroys one of Voldemort's Horcruxes without even fully understanding what a Horcrux is. At 14, he is forced into the Triwizard Tournament, survives 3 deadly tasks, and witnesses Cedric Diggory's murder. By 15, the wizarding government is calling him unstable, newspapers are attacking him, and he starts training other students in defensive magic because the official school system refuses to prepare them. That becomes Dumbledore's army. And while the DA is often remembered as inspiring, it is also deeply troubling. A group of teenagers secretly organizes combat lessons inside a school because the adults in power are either denying reality, suppressing information, or failing to protect them. They are not learning defensive spells as a hobby. They are preparing for war. This becomes even clearer in Deathly Hallows. Hogwarts is taken over by Death Eater influence, and students are placed under the authority of Alecto and Amicus Carrow. The Carrows punish students harshly, promote blood purity ideology, and teach dark arts instead of defense against the dark arts. Neville, Ginny, and Luna help restart Dumbledore's army inside the school, turning it into a resistance movement. Again, it is heroic, but it is also horrifying. These are students living under occupation, hiding from teachers, protecting younger classmates, and fighting a war inside the place that was supposed to educate them. Draco Malfoy also fits into this darker pattern, but from the opposite side. In Half-Blood Prince, Voldemort gives Draco the task of murdering Dumbledore. Draco is not innocent, and he makes harmful choices, but he is still a 16-year-old being used as a punishment tool against his own family. His mission is not really about success. It is about pressure, fear, and control. Voldemort weaponizes a child's loyalty to his parents and places him in an impossible situation. By the Battle of Hogwarts, the line between student and soldier completely disappears. Teenagers fight alongside adults against Death Eaters, giants, werewolves, spiders, and dark magic. Fred Weasley dies. Colin Creevey, who is underage and had been told to leave, sneaks back and is killed. Lavender Brown is attacked. Neville is tortured and humiliated in front of everyone before killing Nagini. The story presents these moments as acts of courage, and they are. But beneath that courage is a disturbing failure. The adults did not stop the war from reaching the children. The children had to step into it themselves. That is what makes this part of Harry Potter so unsettling. The series celebrates bravery, but it also shows a world where young people are repeatedly forced to carry the consequences of adult corruption, adult prejudice, and adult mistakes. Number 2. The Muggle-born Registration Commission. By the time Voldemort takes control of the Ministry, the wizarding world does not just become violent, it becomes organized. And that is what makes the Muggle-born Registration Commission one of the most disturbing parts of the entire series. This was not random Death Eater cruelty in a back alley. This was persecution with desks, files, hearings, officials, and legal language. Introduced in Deathly Hallows, the Muggle-born Registration Commission was created under the new ministry regime to identify witches and wizards born to non-magical parents. Its official claim was that Muggle-borns had somehow stolen magic from real witches and wizards. That accusation makes no sense. Magic in Harry Potter is not something you can steal like a wand or a book. Muggle-borns are born magical. The existence of characters like Hermione Granger proves that magical ability can appear naturally outside old wizarding families. But oppressive systems do not need logic. They need a target. The Commission forces Muggle-borns to appear before ministry officials and prove they have the right to exist in magical society. Their blood status becomes a legal problem. Their wand can be confiscated, their freedom can disappear, and their identity is treated like a crime. One of the clearest examples is Mary Cattermole. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione infiltrate the ministry, they witness Mary being interrogated. She is terrified, confused, and desperate. She has a husband and children, yet the ministry treats her like she is guilty simply because of her parentage. Dolores Umbridge plays a major role here, and that is important. Umbridge is not terrifying because she is openly chaotic like Bellatrix or visibly monstrous like Voldemort. She is terrifying because she turns cruelty into procedure. She asks questions, sits behind a desk, and wears official authority like armor. Surrounding the hearing, however, are Dementors. That detail makes the scene even darker. The ministry is not only threatening people legally, it is using creatures that drain hope and happiness to make victims weaker before judgment even begins. This is why the Commission is so disturbing. It shows prejudice becoming bureaucracy. Blood purity is no longer just something whispered by old families or shouted by Death Eaters. It becomes government policy, paperwork, and propaganda. The ministry even spreads pamphlets warning against Muggle-borns, presenting them as dangerous or unnatural. This is how authoritarian systems often work inside fiction and history alike. They take an existing prejudice, give it official language, and make ordinary people participate. The scariest part is how quickly it happens. The wizarding world already had blood status prejudice before Voldemort returned. Words like mudblood already existed. Families like the Malfoys already looked down on Muggle-borns. The Chamber of Secrets itself was built around Salazar Slytherin's hatred of students from non-magical families. Voldemort does not invent that hatred, but he legalizes it. And once hatred becomes law, cruelty can hide behind routine. A clerk can file a document, an official can ask questions, and a guard can escort someone away. Everyone can pretend they are simply following ministry orders. It shows how a magical society can take innocent people and turn their existence into a crime. Number 1. The wizarding world treats cruelty as normal. It is not about one villain, one law, one school, or one dark magical object. It is about the entire culture. The most disturbing part of Harry Potter is not always the thing hiding in the shadows. Sometimes it is the thing everyone sees, accepts, and continues living with. Throughout the series, the wizarding world is presented as magical and fascinating, but many of its everyday systems are deeply disturbing when examined closely. The truly unsettling part is that many of these things are not treated as shocking by most witches and wizards. They are treated as normal. That is why this belongs at number 1. Every previous entry on this list is disturbing on its own, but this one explains why they are able to exist in the first place. A society does not accidentally normalize slavery. It does not accidentally build a prison around creatures that feed on human despair, nor accidentally sell magical substances that manipulate consent, nor allow children to become soldiers. These things continue because enough people decide not to question them. That is what makes the wizarding world so uncomfortable beneath the surface. It has wonder, but it also has moral blindness. Hogwarts students enjoy giant feasts without thinking about the unpaid house elves preparing them below the castle. Ministry officials talk about law and order while using systems that can destroy people's minds, souls, or identities. Families obsess over blood status as if ancestry determines human worth. Magical society hides from Muggles partly for safety, but also develops a habit of secrecy so strong that cover-ups become routine. The disturbing part is not only that bad things happen, it is that the world has learned how to live around them. This is different from a single corrupt person abusing power. A corrupt person can be removed, a dangerous law can be changed, a villain can be defeated. But cultural cruelty is harder to fix because it hides inside habits, inside jokes, inside traditions, and inside phrases like, "That's just how things are." The wizarding world's darkest problem is not that evil exists. Every world has evil. The darker problem is that so much harm has been made ordinary that people grow up around it, benefit from it, defend it, and ignore it. And sometimes, even good characters participate in it without fully realizing what they are accepting. The magic is beautiful, and the world is unforgettable. But underneath the candles, castles, spells, and nostalgia is a society where cruelty often does not need to hide. It only needs to be called tradition. Looking at all of this together, the disturbing part is not just that the wizarding world has dark corners. It is that so many of those dark corners are built into everyday life. A student can walk through Hogwarts and see magic everywhere, but beneath that wonder are systems most people barely question. And that is what makes Harry Potter's world so fascinating. It is not purely comforting nor purely dark. It is a magical society full of beauty, history, and imagination, but also one where cruelty often survives because people have learned to call it normal. So now I want to ask you, which disturbing part of Harry Potter do you think people overlook the most? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing for more Harry Potter lore videos. Thanks for watching.